Welcome to Across Africa, our weekly roundup of stories from across the continent. I'm Georgia Calvin-Smith, and coming up, a French appeal court fined Teodorin Obiang, Equatorial Guinea's vice president, €30 million for plundering state coffers to pay for fast cars and mansions in France. Also, the capital of the struggle. The city of Accra is where the first protests began in 2018 that led to the revolution that toppled Sudan's longtime leader, Omar al-Bashir. And musical allrounder Salatiel speaks to me ahead of his first European tour. The Cameroonian Crooner's long been a hit with fans at home, but was catapulted onto the international stage with a collaboration with Beyonce and Pharell last year. We talk about his plans going forward. But first, the son of Equatorial Guinea's president was given a €30 million fine in a Paris court on Monday for plundering from state coffers to pay for a luxury lifestyle. Nicolas Chemin tells us more.
Señores, este señor es un delincuente, igual que su amo, Teodorin Obiang.
Equatorial Guinea's ambassador was heckled by opposition supporters. He came to the Paris court unlike his country's vice president, Teodorin Obiang. On Monday, Obiang was handed a €30 million fine on top of a suspended jail term and the confiscation of his assets for embezzling public funds. His lawyer did not respond to our calls. Defense lawyers called it an historic verdict.
This is an important step. It's a major signal to those who believe in impunity and who want to organize and maintain a system to steal public funds in Africa and elsewhere.
Obiang is the son of Equatorial Guinea's president. He could still lodge a final challenge to France's highest court. Half the population of his country lives below the poverty line. Obiang was accused of having used public funds to buy, among other things, a mansion in one of Paris's most expensive districts. He has lodged an appeal with the International Court of Justice, arguing the mansion is a diplomatic building and should not be seized. Its fate will be decided by the International Court. Since the trial started, Obiang, who's known for his lavish lifestyle, regularly posted pictures of himself on yachts and in front of luxury cars.
Now, 10 months after the fall of Omar al-Bashir, the Sudanese city of Accra has changed immensely. It was where the first bread protests began in 2018 that set the ball rolling for the revolution that erupted last April. France 24's team on the ground tells us more.
Namarig was one of the first to take to the streets. It was here in the market that students protested after the price of bread tripled at their university cafeteria.
1 year ago, people were suffering from the economic crisis caused by the policies of the previous regime. This prevented us from having enough money to have a normal life. And because the citizens of Atbara are politically engaged, we rebelled and brought about the changes that have made us so proud today.
The city has been visibly changed. The walls are covered by the murals of the revolution. And young people no longer keep their political ideas to themselves. Namarig joins friends to celebrate the memory of the martyrs of the protests. They're still fighting to bring about their ultimate demand, democracy.
The situation is still not satisfactory. It's not changing enough. We have no other option than to continue the fight. The Sudanese should push the current regime and its military members to achieve the goals of the revolution.
Atbara is known for its powerful labor unions, including the railway union, which had been marginalized by al-Bashir. He feared that the resistance would come from the city. This man oversees Atbara's health services. Everything is different for him since the dictator's fall.
We are now working together in harmony. There is a good coordination with Khartoum. In 20 years of service, I have never seen this. For example, for all the information we ask for, we get a response.
The fall of al-Bashir has given Atbara a taste of freedom, but the transition is far from over. And for now, the military still sits at the head of the Sovereign Transitional Council.
Now, Cameroonian chart topper Salatiel has been in the music-making game on the continent for a while now, but he started attracting a more widely international following after he collaborated with Pharell and Beyonce on a track on Queen Bee's Lion King album last year. Remember this?
Yeah.
Baby, oh, I'm not much of a talker. Baby, oh, can I drink from your water? Baby, oh, meet me down by the river. We can dance to the rhythm till the sun is high and the water low.
It brings back so many memories of happy nights dancing for me. Anyway, Salatiel is currently on his first European tour, which will take him to Belgium, Italy, and of course here in France. And he has graciously popped in to see us ahead of that project. Salatiel, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, so much attention was kind of directed towards you from outside of Africa because of your collaboration with Beyonce in 2019. How has that affected your career at all since?
Well, like you said, so much attention from outside of Cameroon. You know, I've been doing a lot of work in Cameroon, doing a lot of work, not just in Cameroon, French Africa, and some other parts of Africa. But then it's like a floodgate, you know, like a door just broke open. And it's been a good feeling, you know, to be able to spread my music and across the world.
And in the way that you spread your music, it's not just through actually making music or appearing in songs yourself. You're also a producer. You run a production company called Alpha Beta.
Alpha Beta Records, yeah.
And how do you manage to balance the requirements of being a producer with, you know, performing yourself?
Right now, I'm on the road for a tour, and I'm doing my production mostly on the road, you know, having my mobile studio session. And I was trained for this, you know. It's been years of doing this, and it was all part of the plan, you know, build up a system and make sure that Cameroonian music and other Cameroonian artists that looked up to me for work and for music, for compositions and all of that, that they get the stand that they need before I move out, you know. And 2019 was actually when I was like, okay, guys, I've been working, you know, I've been in here, I've been locked up, you know, I've done my part, you know, and right now I'm continuing to do that part, but it's not going to be a full time like I was doing in the past. I've been releasing music always, but I've never been really out there talking to media, meeting people, doing shows and touring and connecting with other people. And I think it's the time for me to do it. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for myself and the rest of the people that look up to me.
How do you bridge the needs for your Francophone audiences and your Anglophone audiences, both in terms of how you write and create and in terms of how you perform?
Well, it's always, for me, I see being bilingual as an advantage. And if you don't handle it well, it could be a really huge disadvantage. I let my spirit speak, you know. Songs come sometimes in French. Some come in English, but most of the songs which we do, and when I say we, I mean me and a lot of other artists that I work with, some of the top artists in Cameroon, we do French and English without transition. And I mean, you could be speaking French and you hear the song and you understand. And you could be speaking English and you hear the song and you still understand. There are songs sometimes that are mostly French. Some songs like Ayagayo, which is almost completely English. And I'm just a free spirit. I believe music is a universal language.
And how does that apply to your current tour in Europe? It's the first one. You started it relatively recently. Have you seen any difference in terms of your reception from audiences in Europe?
No, I think it's the same, you know. You meet the English-speaking crowd, and you vibe with the English-speaking crowd. You meet the French-speaking crowd, you vibe with the French-speaking crowd in their language, you know. That's why I say that's where it really becomes a real advantage, you know. I'm able to collaborate with artists and appeal to French public at the same time and appeal to English-speaking public in their languages. And sometimes just play around, you know, go to Nigeria and sing a song in French, and they enjoy it. That, oh, this guy's coming from French-speaking zone, you know. So it's to me, it's an advantage. The more languages you can speak, to me, it's more an advantage. And it works for me.
Well, Salatiel, we know that if anyone is in Paris, you've got a big show coming up in March,
14th
on
of
March the 14th. So try and catch him if you are in the French capital around that date. Also, you have coincided this European tour ahead of the release of a new album, I understand it.
Africa Represented is the album, you know. I've been working on this album since 2013 and was just waiting for the right time to release. Like I said, I've been in the studio working, and Africa Represented is really going to be that album that is going to sell African music, not just Afrobeats, because African music goes beyond Afrobeat. You know, there's African music, the different kinds of music in different tribes and coming from a country that is really, really diverse in terms of culture. I want to represent Africa, and the album is going to have a lot of huge collaborations from around Africa, you know, from Nigeria, from Ghana. I've been to Nigeria, I've been to Ghana, working with some artists in South Africa, working even with Sauti Sol from Kenya, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Sauti Sol and Salatiel, some of my favorite. That is something definitely to look forward to.
So we want to represent Africa the best we can, you know.
Salatiel, that sounds really, really exciting. I know that you have one big single that from the album that you're really going to be playing a lot during the tour.
Ayagayo, you know.
Yeah, Ayagayo, which apparently is
good
Jamaican
feelings.
Good
Yeah,
feelings, good
light
time.
up the day.
Who doesn't like a good time?
Light up the day, you know.
Salatiel, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
If you wouldn't mind, it would be great if you could sing us out, give us a little bit of a taste of some good times of
Ayagayo.
Ayagayo,
yeah.
Okay, Salatiel.
Yes, I. Yeah. I woke up with a good vibe. Closed my eyes and saw a good sign. Something different, something too nice. This life we're living, no be two times. Yeah. If you know, then you know. If you don't know, then you know. Don't worry about it. And if he show, then he show. If he no show, then he no show. Don't worry about it, 'cause good times don't come easy, but they do eventually. Good times don't come easy, but they do. Just remember, please, to say ayo, 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 ayagayo, ayo, ayo. Yes. We're done.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Salatiel, for coming in to see us. Thank you so much for joining us here on Across Africa. Do so again if you can. And remember to try and catch Salatiel on March the 14th here in Paris if you can. Take care.